G'day, legends. Welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Dan. How you been, Dan?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Absolutely pumped to be back. It's been a little while since the schedules have aligned, but yeah, here to chat a bit of Celtic. I think things are going really well, and I think there's a lot of unrest or drama to talk about, so it should be a nice white one.
Dunno, mate. Dunno what's going on there. I was going to sing you a song, like in the words of Stained. It's been a while since you've been.
It's right
Just
up
have
my
to be.
alley too. A bit of divorced dad rock.
You have to be that one because just the accent that these sings out is just so bad. It makes for great viewing. So sorry to anyone listening to that in the with the AirPods in at a later date. Unlucky. Yeah, we've got a bit of
I'm in somewhere right now. Just
someone's just turned off. They're like, no, I've had enough of this already. Happy days, each to their own. But yeah, we've got a bit of things to talk about. We've got the game against Thistle. We're going to talk about the ongoing fan protests that Dan touched on there. Financials dropping at some stupid hour. Barrowfield redevelopment done, and then we'll talk about the Europa League, which is kicking off this week. So we'll just crack right on. That's for you, Jared, if you're tuning in. We'll just crack on and start talking about the Thistle game. So Celtic 4, Partick Thistle 0. We'll just go to the starting lineup. So it was Sinisalo in goals, then Tierney, Scales, Carter Vickers, Donovan, and then the middle of the park, Atade, McGregor, Nigren, and then up front, Big Cows starting at striker, Iheanacho, and then Tenecti on the left, and the scorer of our first goal, the one that Dan is the leader of, the Yang Gang. Happy days. So what was your thoughts going into the game, Dan? You saw the lineup. We're playing against the team from the championship, so you're expecting a win. What were you thinking?
yeah, I thought there was probably a good opportunity to maybe not be experimental with the lineup, but to maybe rest a few guys, give some weary legs a bit of a rest, but possibly Calmac. But obviously, it didn't quite work out like that. He was more experimental than given a chance to rest. I was happy to see Sinisalo get some minutes. I've liked what I've seen from him just about every time I've seen him. So it was nice to see him get a run. It was interesting to see Colby Donovan at right back. I know we've sort of had some some limitations and some issues and injury concerns in that department, but it was good to see him get a run out. I thought, we'll touch on it as the discussion around the game progresses, but I thought he was really strong as well. So, look, overall, I thought the lineup was quite good. I thought Partick showed some good early endeavour. I thought they frustrated us with a nice compact defensive approach for, it's a cagey 20 minutes or so, and then we got through with a bit of persistence and a bit of luck, I think, almost more than anything, and got that first goal, which probably settled things a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing, Dan. It was because it's a cup game, Teams have got to play. They're not going to sit back like they would the whole game in the league. So they go down one. They've got to try and stay in the game. And then to get the second goal so quickly after, it kind of opened things up and just made it a lot more enjoyable to watch. Because that first 20-odd minutes or so, I felt bipolar when I was watching that. I'm like, 1 minute, I'm like, oh, no, not this horseshoe rubbish again. Had to say rubbish because still in the first 5 minutes. Thank you, YouTube moderators and everything. You didn't catch me out. But, yeah, it was some of that horseshoe stuff, pass it back. But then once we started getting a bit of the thing I did like, though, in patches, in like some of the link-up play, like the give and goes and that, like the thing with Tenecti being as direct as he is, it actually opens up a bit more. And then Yang is kind of the same as well. So, yeah, it was a bit of an interesting one there. But yeah, you touched on a few of the players there. Like I thought going into it, we'd see more rotation as well. I said on Thursday, I expected wholesale changes. Like I thought this was a prime game to give Kelmac a game off. Like if he doesn't get rested for this game, he's not getting rested for any game. That's the way I look at it. If you're playing against a team from the championship, Calmac doesn't get a rest. Okay. I didn't think we'd have KT playing. Is the sound okay, Dan, or not?
Yeah, I've got you loud and clear, mate.
Okay, cool. No, I just had an echo. That's why I was asking. Yeah, so it's yeah, so I thought KT would probably not play the full game. So the fact that he played 90 was good for me. But yeah, it's just I thought we'd see a bit more rotation. I thought this was a game where Balakwisha would come in and just take the game by the scruff of the neck. I thought it was a game where we'd see Engels and Bernardo getting a start. So yeah, a little disappointed on that front. But you know, I didn't think Calmac needed to play the game. But positives are Colby Donovan. Every time I see him, I'm more impressed. Every time, you know, Scales gets out there, he's just not just a player, but his leadership is growing more and more in this squad. You can see that in him, like the same way with like I'm looking at him on the same path as like when Lustig come in, he was just a character, wasn't really the leader, but towards the end he had that leadership, and I'm starting to see that same growth in terms of leadership potential coming in with Scales. The more we see him, he's telling CCV what to do at times now, so that impressed me as well. But yeah, it was I just thought it was a game that we should have probably rotated a bit more, but you know, in Brendan we trust. He's on the big bucks. It's his call to make.
Absolutely, ultimately you're right there, and you've got to trust the manager, I guess. It's an interesting one, as you said about Calmac, because at what point you're playing? I think they're fourth or fifth in the championship at the moment. Party, they're not a terrible side by any stretch of the imagination, but to me, it was the perfect opportunity for someone we haven't seen a lot of in Paolo Bernardo. Um, Engels, there's been all sorts of talk about the record fee and is there a player there? Is there not? These are the games you'd think if you're not starting regularly week on week, then we should be getting. If you're not starting, then you should be, getting a good long run out against Partick. But it was more. It was more a settled lineup as sort of best as you could call it. I did like to see. I do have a soft spot for Yang. I don't know at this point whether my soft spot for Yang is satirical or not. Like I've completely lost myself meta in the joke that started out as the Yang Gang to the point where I'm not sure if I think he's a player or not anymore. But it was good to see. It was good to see him score. It'd been a run of games for him where he hadn't scored. I thought he was quite resolute. You spoke about Scales. I'm an unabashed Scales guy. It was a good, perfectly timed header. I think the keeper probably should have done a little better. He got both hands to it. From a keeping perspective, you should be doing better. But no, look, he's passionate. His leadership is something I don't think a lot of people have spoken about, but you certainly reflected on there. And I thought he was better than CCV yesterday. CCV had his little sort of scare moment at the back there, and there weren't a lot of other moments, but I thought Scalesy was solid, and we sort of rounded out the first half. I think we had like nearly 70% possession, 7 shots, 3 on target, almost almost nothing at the back end in that first half to sort of create any issues. So it's exactly what you want, I guess, from the first half of a cup tie away to a lower league opposition.
You said Scales was better than CCV. He has been all season, in my opinion.
Yeah,
CCV's been hit and miss. Like he's been our best defender. That's the easiest way to sum it up. He's been our best, most consistent defender all season. The rest of it's been chopping and changing, a lot of subs, a lot of the here and everything, but he's been the consistent guy in the back line. So, as heavy vibes is saying here, if it would show up on the screen, there we go. Scales the next captain. I wouldn't be upset with that.
no, me either. Look, full disclosure, it was supposed to come today, but it didn't. But I ordered the away kit with Scales on the back, so I'm fully invested at this point.
Fair enough. The thing as well, Dan, like I said on Thursday, that I'd be looking at probably Luke, Bernardo, and Engels starting together. Get some minutes into their legs, right? So, as Dominic's saying here, Engels escaped a nasty tackle on him if there was VAR, the Thistle player walks. Yep, agree with that assessment. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Bernardo, honestly. Engels is a whole nother story because I think we'll see Engels come into the rotation a bit more in Europe over the next couple of months. But Bernardo, I don't know what's going on there. It's actually got me completely confused.
I wonder, like, he hasn't had a real stretch in a game since the cup final, and he was really poor. He was certainly not on his own in the cup final in that regard. But I just wonder whether Brendan has sort of put the pen through him. To be honest, I have to wonder whether he's got any faith in the guy anymore.
If he's going to put the pen through him then, and that was in the cup final, why is he still at the club? Sell him. Makes
That's
no
fair.
sense for him still to be here. Or loan the guy out so he can get his confidence back. There's a player there. And when the reason he's not getting a game is because the club captain, who's almost undroppable in this Brendan system, is in front of him, then if you're Bernardo and you're in his situation, you'd be like, no, it's time to look for another job.
I agree. It's something we've spoken about. I know myself and you quite regularly is how little we utilise the loan system within Scotland. You can't tell me that loaning him out to another SPFL side or even the Championship side, give him a chance, get a run of games, get time, spend that week, spend week on week on week playing football, and we see what we've got at the back end of it. But this sort of patchwork of minutes here and there, and stretches of weeks where he sees no game time, like, it does nothing for him. It does nothing for us. And as an asset, what are you doing with him?
Well, there's no reserve league. So that's the issue too. It's not like he's not playing the first team, so he's going and having a run on the weekend in the reserves to keep his fitness up, stay match sharp and everything. There's none of that. He can't play in the B team. So, and he's not a Scottish player under the age of whatever it is to be able to have that on where he can bounce between us and, was it, Air United or something like that. So you can't even put him in that. So if Bernardo was on loan under Jimmy Tulane up at Aberdeen, for instance, the Huns would be dead last in the league. Let's be honest. Or would
We
it?
would be, and that's the thing. You would be strengthening the opponents of your biggest, rivals, quote unquote, while also, not. And I just say that because obviously it's hard to have a rival when they're on the cusp of relegation battle. Um, but also, it's like, well, he couldn't play against us, so it's not that you've got to worry about that. It improves those around, the competition. It makes it tougher for the Huns. You get a player who potentially shows that he can do it, and you reassess, or he shows that he can't, and you move on. I don't know. It seems like players get lost in the squad at Celtic all too regularly.
And it's not just like players like the former Portuguese under 21 national captain in Bernardo. It's not just that, it's the guys coming through. A guy like Karamoko, when we had him at the club, why'd we lose him? Because he didn't play for 2.5, 3 years. Once he made his debut, he just was around the fringes for ages. A guy like Mikey Johnson, why'd he do nothing in his career other than injuries? He didn't play.
Hmm.
Like, if you want players to come through, the only reason we're talking about Colby Donovan at the moment is because we're actually getting to see him play. But let's be honest, his third string right back, he's now jumped up, as there's a comment in here before. I'm just trying to find it. He Heavy Vibes said it. I think Bricky is now third in line for the right back role. Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, it's Alistair Johnson, then it's Colby Donovan, and then it's the Bricky. Not a bad option to have. But at the same thing, the only reason he's getting spoken about, Donovan, is because we're actually getting a chance to see him play because, well, we had 2 injuries in front of him. That's the whole purpose. Like, if he was playing reserves against senior men instead of playing, like going from our league 5 divisions lower to the Lowland League, it kind of defeats the purpose. It's a nothing game.
100%. And I think it's and it was young Daniel. Can't even think of his last name now. Who went to Millwall, and Rocco Vata. There's so many, and whether these guys make it or not, or whether they go on and do anything else in their career, I think is irrelevant because you're not giving them a platform to be their best while they're here, or giving them a visible pathway to the first team. They can be on the fringes here and there, but then, as you said with Karamoko, then generally, where does it go from there?
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those ones. I think it was what Daniel Kelly was it?
Daniel Kelly, that's right. Yeah, I had
That's
Daniel
it.
in my head. I could not think of Kelly for the life of me.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where there's got to be a better way. But we'll talk about that the youth development stuff a bit later on. When we get to the Barrowfield stuff. But yeah, just I don't know. I just thought it was a game. Bringing it back to the Thistle game, it's one where I thought we should have been seeing more players get in the rotation. Like we've spoken about the first half, the goals, the the header from Scales, right? I just have to touch on this one. The goalkeeper completely butchered it. He stayed in no man's land in the middle. Either at a corner, you either cover your near post and you put someone on the back post, or you put someone on the front post and stay middle to cover middle on the back post. He stayed in the middle and had no one on either post. So
Soft
completely,
hands too.
what was that?
Soft hands too. When he got up to it, he got to do better in that situation from the keeper.
When I saw the replay of that first, I thought, was that Barkas in goal? Old cabbage hands? And I'm like, I can't tarnish someone with that. But anyway,
Very harsh, but fair question.
yeah. So overall, like, what was your thoughts in the second half?
A great way to start it. We talked about, the first 20, 25 minutes of the first half was really laboured. You come out and Tedeschi scores, within 2 minutes of the restart. A good, tidy little 1-2 with Kalechi and Nacho. It at that point, basically ended the contest for me. Beyond that, I thought, Thistle showed some brief attacking moments during that second half, but obviously really didn't trouble us all that much. I think Tony Watt had half a chance or a fairly decent chance to pull one back, but other than that, we were fairly solid. And then Lukey Mack, who generally takes the best of the opportunities when he's given time, was able to come on again and finish it. I thought it was quite a strong finish. It was composed, good tidy finish, set up by Balaquish's pressing and a win high up the pitch, which I not that I've been on here much lately, but I've been quite critical of Balaquisha to start with, and I really try and avoid that the trap that how quickly we can write off new players. But there was some real question marks, particularly in the Derby game over him. But some better signs there. Uh, I really liked. Obviously, Tanecki was man of the match for me. Overall attacking threat, excellent movement, strong link-up play. On the left with Tierney, I liked the combination that's starting to emerge there. They'll have stiffer tests than the Partick sort of right-hand edge, but overall I thought that was good for the left. What that means for when Jota comes back, whether it's Jota on the right or I'm not so sure, but I did like Tanecki on the left with Tierney, and it certainly looked a smoother combination than any time we've seen Tierney and Maeda on the left, to be honest.
Yeah, it's starting to build up, which is to be expected. Like now the window's shut and players aren't angling for moves or whatever. It's like, all right, get on with it. This is your lot at least until January. So get out there and build that. And we've got some players in as well. So Tenecti, okay, this is gonna sound really weird, right? I was thinking about it earlier today, and this doesn't happen very often, right? I don't have a moment of clarity like this when it comes to Celtic. We're all talking about how great Tenecti is doing and how quickly he's come in and he's hit the ground running, right? And there's no pressure on him. We signed him halfway through his season.
Mm.
Everyone's forgetting that. We brought Balaguisha in, who's been in and out of their squad over there, angling for his move. Apparently, the move was agreed between Celtic and Antwerp in June, and then it was his agent and him and all that haggling for money and holding off on it, trying to see whatever else popped up before we got Balaguisha in. So Balaguisha was like the big money signing. Bring him in. He was the number one target on the wing. But he's coming in at the same thing as it's taken Tierney time to get up to speed. Balaguisha needs to move to a new country, find a place to live, get up to speed and everything. And then you look at Tenecti, he's coming from basically the Arctic Circle down into Glasgow. So for him, he's like, I'm going somewhere warm. And I'm already halfway through my season. It's not as much of an adjustment for him. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from Tenecti, but it's kind of like when we signed Dazen and when we signed those guys, the guys from Japan originally, they'd played a full season, then they came in, so they were already in peak form because they'd finished the end of a season to then come straight to the club. Where if you sign a guy, when we signed, was it Awada? He didn't hit the ground running when he came into Celtic from Japan because he was out of season.
Can't argue with that. And Taneki does. You're right. He looks like a guy that has hit, peak form through the middle of a season, which is, pretty much what he has. And you're right. Glasgow is probably quite temperate compared to where he was. So it's certainly not as big a transition, I wouldn't imagine, as coming from Belgium. And as you said, sort of being at the start of a season in and out. So I'm certainly not going to write Balikwisha off. I do want to see more, but I thought energy wise, I thought there was good pressing involved in the fourth goal. He looked forward a little bit more. I thought the biggest criticism of you early was that he was quick to turn around and look for the easy pass or the soft pass. But I guess when you put it into that context, if you've just come into the side, some bigger pressure fixtures, then yeah, maybe he is looking to take the soft option rather than take a risk, which is what we want from our wingers. We want those traditional wingers. We want guys that are going to beat a man, take a man on, either whip a ball in or cut back in and unleash. So I'm certainly not going to write him off yet. But no, overall, I thought good performance. I was happy with Negrin. Um, Recent criticism, some has been over the top, some has been valid. He's also been played out of position, which hasn't helped. But 2 assists today. I think it was the first 2 goals from memory too that were his assists.
Yep.
Good delivery, sort of towards the left side of the pitch. Clever link-up play with for Tanecki. Consistently, I thought he held up the play and pressured in the middle of the park. So again, you've got to adjust expectations for the opposition. But I was pretty happy with Negrin's performance as well.
Yeah, I'm happy overall with how he's playing as well. I think he's been a bit up and down the last few games, but so's everyone this season. So I'm not going to just throw a player under the bus at the moment. Like there's probably, let's be honest, if I look at the squad so far over the whole season, I don't think there's anyone I'll throw completely under the bus and say, nah, get out of the club. Well, there's one, but I don't even know why we signed the guy. Like, why did we sign JSP? If he's going to come up here and you've got Dane Murray doing better than him, and then you've got JSP not even refusing to train with the B team and play a game to get match fit, allegedly, that was the rumour. I don't know if it's true or not, but if that's happening, then jog on. Like, that sort of thing. We didn't need him.
Yeah, look, if that's true, if he's refused to train with or come on with the B team or whatever, the rumours have been around. That's not on. I obviously don't know whether that's true either. But for me, and I tweeted it this afternoon, I was just sort of sitting there thinking about it. And where we are at the moment, that move doesn't make sense for anyone. For Celtic, I mean, to loan in a guy to be what at this point your fifth choice centre back, who is consistently, I mean, he's not even remotely close to getting a look in, makes no sense. For City to take a young prospect, I think he's the first defender to ever win the PL2, Premier League reserve grade, whatever they want to call it, player of the year. And look, that's no guarantee that he's an amazing player. I got no idea. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm studying Manchester City's reserve grade games for gems. But it makes no sense for City to loan him up here to not be getting game time. And it makes no sense for the player. So take the player aside. To me, it's symptomatic of our mixed and muddled and maybe lacking cohesion approach to transfer policy and how we want to bring players in. He smacks of a board signing, if you will, someone to maintain that relationship with City. He's got the CV, but obviously Rodgers is unimpressed. So who's pulling the trigger on those deals? To me, it raises more questions than it answers.
I think I figured out, like, when we first signed him, I thought, okay, we don't have wingers. It makes sense if we're changing to a 3-5-2, and we needed the one extra centre back to bring him in, put him in there along with. So you got CCV, you got Scales, you got Trusty, then you've got him and Murray, right? So it gives you, and that allows us to loan Welsh out. So it still gives us five centre backs for three spots. Cool, makes sense because we had no wingers, we had a few strikers, strong midfield. That set up, and then Brendan doesn't change the formation at all. And that's when I start questioning it because, as you're saying, if he's won the Premier League like player of the season, he's coming up here obviously because the club sent him up here, looking at it going, all right, well, if he goes to Celtic, he's going to probably play Champions League or worst case scenario, Europa League. He's going to play in Europe. He's going to get regular game time. So that's what they're thinking is. His thinking is, yep, I'll go in there, I'll play, and I'll do what Denier did when he came up from Man City on loan, or Boyata when we signed him on loan. He'll come in and make himself a regular first team. Hasn't happened. So it doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense at all.
That's just a weird one. It smacks to me. It just feels like City have said, "Look, you owe us one. We want to keep this little pipeline open," and the board of or whoever's made the decision has agreed with that and not bothered to consult the manager. Or maybe Brendan was right on board, and then he met him and he thought, "No, I don't like this kid. He's got a shit attitude," or whatever. But it certainly doesn't make any sense from the outside looking in as a move overall.
So on that then, Dan, we'll just go on this tangent. You've got him as a potential board signing. You've got Yamada. You've got Inamura. You've got Osmond. You give Johnny Kenny a new 4-year deal and he doesn't even make match day squads as well. So there's 5 players in our squad. We've got a squad of what, 25, 26 players? So that's a quarter of our squad basically, or a fifth of our squad. Actually, there's my maths a bit better.
I wasn't even going to call you out on it. That's how nice I was going to be.
Don't worry. I counted fingers. I'm like, hang on, do the maths. Let's count. Where's my toes? Count them. Yep, cool. So just figuring it out that way, it's like that's a huge thing. Why would you do that? And there's some sort of, issue going on behind the scenes, and we're all well and truly aware of it. We all know there's a bit of a power struggle going on, and I actually feel sorry for the players at the same time because your careers are short. You make a move. If you're on the up and up, then you come up here and you don't play, and then clubs down in England will be like, well, why aren't these guys playing in England? Sorry, in Scotland. If he's that good, he should be up there and dominating. So then that means which teams down there are going to come for him in the future? It's going to make his career tougher too. But who cares? We're a Celtic podcast. If the players are in the door, they're going to wear our uniform, get out there and play hard. Make it happen.
Absolutely. I'm just disappointed we're not seeing. We've got the perfect Sinn Féin pun reference to be playing as a backup striker and we're not using him. That's my real concern.
Where's Hoyty when, the Shin making his, all those pins? Hoyty, the guy who does all them.
Yeah.
Shin score him with like his jersey and like the balaclava on, like that'd be perfect. Or if Shin ever scores a goal and just does the wiggles like, finger guns or whatever, that'd be perfect. There you go.
Pulls the balaclava out.
And then starts doing that.
I tell you what, he'd be an instant fan favourite if he did.
Cult hero. It'd be like the latest version of PC Lustig.
I like it. But you're right. You look at, that's a group of 4, 5, 6 players who ultimately we're not going to see much of them at all unless there's injuries or, we wrap the league up with, before the split, say, and they get some game time at the back end. So it does leave you short because if you've got a squad of that, 25, where's your depth if you're not, if these guys are that bad that you're not even, as someone said, most of them aren't even making match day squads. Where's your depth?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just reading through some of the comments here, Dan. So, like, if we're talking about the depth, and I mentioned earlier about not having a reserve thing, so Michael McDonald is saying in the 80s it wasn't unusual to have two, maybe more first team players in the reserve second team. These days it's considered an insult unless they're coming back from an injury. And then Smell the Glove follows it up with ask any older retired football. They all say reserve league was crucial for their development. Square Sausage Mick is confirming what we're saying about JSP, who refused to play for the B team. I don't blame him in a way. If you're playing B team like Premier League 2 Player of the Year and you made your debut, you played in the EPL, you're playing in the Champions League, getting minutes in that off the bench at the end of games, and then you got to come up here and go play in the Lowland League. I kind of can understand it, but at the same time, you're new here, you're not match fit. Go play some football.
Yeah, look, I'm very old school when it comes to that. I'd be right for giving him a kick right up the arse, to be honest. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, that doesn't get the best out of players these days. Let's be honest. They all want to be coddled and pampered. So, I think I'd be a terrible manager in that regard because I'd be very old school.
the old hair dryer
A
thing
lot of
doesn't
lot
work.
of lot of Fergie without the track record of winning, just yelling
Oh,
and intimidating.
so you're Roy Keane then? Cool.
Similar
There's your
outlooks on life sometimes. I like that.
answer.
Have you
There's your answer.
totally off topic, but have you seen the Roy Keane movie critic on Twitter? It's just or X, whatever you want to call it now. It's the same
Whatever.
thing every time, but he basically will take like a famous movie and break it down to, why it's Jurassic Park, and they're like, look, I've said it once and I've said it before, but if you're not working as a team, then it's just not going to work. You're going to leave the back door open, and the T Rex is going to get out. It's hilarious. It's him off, Match of the Day or whatever. It's so good. It's so
I need
good.
to
I
suss
highly
this out. That
recommend.
sounds like right up my alley there.
It's really funny. It's one of those ones where I'd send it to a few people, and like only half of them would get it, but the people that got it really enjoyed it. So highly recommend for anyone else who's still on. I'm not calling it X, for Christ's sake.
It's
Twitter.
Twitter.
Um, but yeah, huge question marks. We've got a huge chunk of the squad that we probably don't want to play unless we have to, which is not ideal.
So I'll just bring up a couple more comments. Robert Gibson, all board signings, and Brendan won't play them unless we hit the bottom of the barrel. Heavy Vibes are saying, think of all the wages wasted. We could have gone for a decent player. Square Sausage Mick is saying, it must put players off signing for us. And then you got Heavy Vibes, a squad of 25, but 10 of them have no chance. Yeah. So it's a bit of a.
I think it's a a broader issue than just Celtic in that not having a proper reserve league is atrocious in Scotland.
It's part of why the Scottish young players and the Scottish national team isn't where it should be. And it's also part of why, in my opinion, it's so hard to find those 8 players association trained for Europe for Scottish clubs.
Well, it's why so many young players take the first opportunity to go overseas, whether it's England, Italy, Germany. You're so much better off playing for Bayern Munich's reserve grade than you are playing the Celtic B team against Darvel or some shit. Like, let's be honest.
Why would you want to play 5th division football? Anyway.
Makes no sense. The gap is too big to make any logistical sense from a player development standpoint.
Let's use this then as the segue into one of our next topics then, Dan, because Celtic announced, I'm just trying to get to the post. Celtic announced that the new Barrowfield Training Centre has opened its doors. So Celtic Football Club is delighted to announce the new state-of-the-art training centre at Barrowfield is now complete and is now fully open for use by the women's team and the academies. And there's a whole bunch of blabbing. Peter Lawwell commented saying, we are sure that the new Barrowfield development will prove to be a really important milestone for the club's future. And then he just, talks a load of absolute garbage for a bit. It's supposed to be state of the art, right? But it's saying the list of some of the features: new indoor arena with a full-sized IFA-approved artificial surface, combination of outdoor natural grass and artificial pitches, state of the art gym and fitness facilities, office areas for the academy and the women, changing facilities, medical suite for player treatment, sports science, analysis center, classroom and learning facilities. So, long story short, you watch the video, you go and have a little squiz at the stuff there. All the talk is it's supposed to be state of the art. They've apparently spent £30 million on it. Where's that money gone? I know they've built like a great big tent. That's what it looks like. Um, yeah, it's not £30 million worth.
Yeah, I'd love to know which one of Peter Lowell's cousins run the construction company or something. It sort of smacks of inflated invoices, doesn't it? It's not. It doesn't look impressive. I'm not an expert on world class football facilities in Europe, but there's nothing there that to me sets Celtic apart in across Europe anyway. Scotland, possibly a different story, but our biggest rivals in Glasgow, their stadium is literally crumbling. So having the better facilities is not a high bar to overcome. And look, I mean, probably shouldn't even talk about stadiums falling apart given the fucking look of ours at the moment.
Ours is rusting in spots, yeah.
And the lettering on the side and all the bannering and stuff. It's like, it can't be that hard to put it all back together. Look, I hope it's great. I hope it's exactly what they want. I hope players see the benefit of it. I remember a couple of years ago, and this will, not translate for everyone, but I'm a big rugby league fan. I follow the Penrith Panthers, and myself and Jared's teams maybe playing each other in a final in a week or so. The way things are going, but I hope it works out the same as the last one. But I toured that facility that Penrith built, which was, I think, similar amounts. They were talking $30-40 million Australian at the time. And there was, I mean, everything that you've just touched on at Barrowfield was there in the Rugby League Centre of Excellence at Penrith 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And nothing sets that apart. And yeah, it was nice. It was shiny. It was well designed. You had, free flowing so you could walk through and you do your training and then you'd walk through here and through here and through there and do everything you needed one by one. But nothing about that screen. I think what did they say? The phrase that was world class basics.
Yeah.
What about that is world class? Like if how does that compare to the best academies in the world? That's what I'd like to know. And it's a genuine question. I'd like to know, how does it compare?
That's how it compares. Heavy Vibes is telling you it's a world class tent. The thing is, though, Dan, like I've seen the Penrith thing that you're talking about, right? The Centre of Excellence. I've seen pictures of it. I've seen pictures of the Celtic one from inside. You compare the two weight rooms, not even close. Like the Penrith one, you've got, if you need a bench press, there's like five different spots for it. If you need treadmills, there's 5 of them. If you need lat pull downs, there's 5 of them. There's multiple things. This one here, there's 1 or 2 of everything. That's it. You got a squad of 30 players in there, plus the academy, plus the women's team. You're going to have hundreds of people within a day potentially going through this to use a gym. They're going to be like, it's going to be like going down to your local YMCA, having a stand around, go for an hour workout. You're only at the gym for an hour because you spend 20 minutes waiting for machines.
Yeah, that worries me. And I'm just so skeptical. The way the club is selling it, it makes me think it is snake oil because they no one tries harder to sell dog shit than the Celtic board. The board and the media and the marketing and no one moves harder to sell shit than Celtics. So,
in my opinion, Dan, I'm going to jump on that because they dropped this post and then a few hours later, like middle of the night, they drop out the financials. And to me, the math, there's going to be a deep dive on that on the channel at some point, right? We'll dive into it a bit more, but not today. But the math ain't mathing on that for me, like making so much. you're paying £12 million in tax. So you're paying more in tax for a 12-month period than you paid for Arnie Engels. So we'll put that into perspective, okay? You got a CCV and a Jota worth of tax payments, okay? So we put that to the side. But it's like they're trying to, oh, look at our shiny thing here. This is some good news. Distraction, distraction, distraction because of all the, all the protests and how we all feel about them. It's that's kind of why they're going so hard at it. Then they have three club captains there. They get the maestro Boydie and I can't remember who the other one was there. What was it, Roy Aiken or something like that? I think it was out there doing a post about it as well. It's it's just the whole setup. It's not what they're saying. And me living in Melbourne, right? I don't know who's tuning in here from Australia, but the fact that we try to put in a train tunnel loop, a second loop under our city, and it's been going for 6 years. They originally quoted 500 million to do this whole thing. When it's done later this year, it's going to be about 1.6 billion. I come from the state of people just like inflating everything and wasting money. So Celtic here saying this is worth 30 million. I look at that and go, hmm. The Victorian Labor government must have fucking arranged this. I'll tell you that because it's so much money wasted. You could have built that thing for 10 million, easy.
It's hard to see where the money goes or where it's gone. You don't look at it and think there's a £30 million investment. And you mentioned the math, so I wrote it down. We've got a large profit after tax of 33.9 mil, up significantly from 13.4, and a lot of that will be based on Champions League and player sales. Record group revenue up 15.2% on matchday income. Operating expenses did rise by 8 million, but so last year the cash reserves were reported as 77.2 million. This year they're reported as 77.3. So how does that add up?
There's only two ways it can, Dan. I can tell you because I spoke to someone about this, right? There's only two ways that this adds up. Either the club has spent a lot of money pre-tax on infrastructure work, i.e. work on the stadium, which is a tax write-off. So you spend the money, but you don't have to pay the tax on it. So that's how you offset it. Or we're doing what Rangers did, and there's EBTs going on. They're the only two options to legally do that.
God, it's fucking awful to be hoping for the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
No, just I'm not an accountant. I'm not a money guy. Honestly, when I see that many figures and numbers, my eyes start to glaze over. But I can look at that and say that doesn't add up. And I know we were talking to Steve and a few other guys in the group chat who are well versed at this stuff. Huge question marks. Huge question marks. And to dress it up as a hey, look, I mean, I think they even quoted player trading generated substantial gains. Reinvested with an unprecedented 42.6 million spent on transfers, the highest in club history, overlooking the fact that almost all of that was offset by sales anyway. And that doesn't include the Kuhn sale. That doesn't include who else did we just sell in this off season? It doesn't include those guys at all. So again, you can dress it up to say whatever you want, but ultimately the investment is really pegged to what can they bring in and then how much can they pass out without getting lynched at the door.
Yep.
Which, hopefully it's starting to run out.
Yep, 100%. So I'm just looking at a couple of comments about the stadium stuff. So Heavy Voz saying, did the Celtic tour 8-9 weeks ago. My local GAA clubs have changing rooms, etc. that match or better Celtics. Michael McDonald, I heard it was the changing rooms that stopped us getting a European final. It's also that they need, oh, here we go, Smell the Glove saying UEFA also like underground tunnel for the players' buses to come into. That's part of it.
So did they do that?
What's that?
The underground tunnel.
They can't because of under the ground. There's some issue with the ground. They have to fill so much land with cement and stuff to fill holes. Like a catacomby sort of holes and it's not very stable in certain areas.
Because I was going to say I didn't see that, so just
No.
that would have been a that would almost make sense because it would be a huge structural engineering effort. It would cost a fortune, but
Yeah.
if they didn't do that, then I'm back to my original stance.
But if they wouldn't spend money to make money in terms of build their hotel, their new ticket office, and their museum, which are all going to make money, they're not going to spend money to fix the stadium. That's why it's rusting. But on that front there, Heavy Vibes are saying Celtic are fucked when we finally have to upgrade the ground. And then Pegleg saying, I have a relative who's a Sparky. He told me there's a massive fraud going on with these big building projects. Total scam. It's always the way it happens the world over.
I was going to say I think that's pretty
Yeah.
standard across the
And,
board now,
and then
unfortunately.
Michael was saying the underground thing will be a major engineering project. I'd be impressed if they've done it. So yeah, it's a bit of a doozy all round, but yeah, there's more to dive into. There's so many different variables and things you could dive into. We could do a whole 3 hour podcast. We could do a Joe Rogan length podcast on the Celtic financials. I'm telling you, ridiculous.
I'm not smoking weed live on camera. I'll tell you that.
I'll drink the scotch or whatever. Get into the scotch, the whiskey, whatever. I'll drink that stuff. Dan will have gummies and then jump on instead. He won't smoke a joint, and I think we'll be fine. So what we'll do, Dan, is we'll just shuffle along to the next thing then. So I want to know, get your thoughts on this. We had the next round of the League Cup, so I think it's the semi game at hand, and the draw happened, right? So it was great to see that Celtic managed to stay away from the other big clubs in the draw, like Motherwell and St Mirren, and ended up drawing the Huns. Like, how good is that?
I did see a St Mirren fan tweeting, typical Celtic get another club outside the top six of the SPFL in the draw, which did make me laugh.
And it's absolutely brilliant when other clubs like that pile on too. It just makes my day.
They're really getting a kicking, which is delightful. Let's not kid ourselves. Although I did also see a St Mirren fan just apoplectic. I don't know if you saw it, but Brendan was on the touchline, obviously after the Partick game, when the draw had come through, and whoever was talking to him has said, "Oh, you've drawn Rangers," and he's like, "Oh, well, yeah, it was going to be them or Motherwell or someone else." He clearly couldn't remember St Mirren, and they were apoplectic about it. They're like, the lack of respect we get, and it's like, what the fuck do you think he's going to? He gives a fuck. They're going to get drawn, and then we're going to go right. Well, go and
There's
play
three
them.
options. Fucking deal with it.
Oh, you didn't remember? Yeah, okay. Well, know your place. Who gives a fuck?
Good old Diddy teams, little tiny ones, wee clubs. But here we go. John's in the comments, everyone. So Johnny's saying, "Hi boys, I think there's old railway tunnels near or under Celtic Park." There you go. I knew there was something under there.
That'd be a nightmare to deal with. Then I imagine, in all my vast non-experience as a structural engineer or project manager, I can say that would be a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah, that was good fun. So, yeah, we got the Huns. It's going to be funny. The one thing I've got to ask about that game, because we'll preview that in depth when the time comes. Will they have which number manager this season will they be on them? Will they still have Russell Martin? Will they have an interim? Will they have their actual replacement in? Because that whole Hun cycle that happens, where will they be on that?
As one of the founding members of the Russell Martin Celtic Supporters Club, I'll be hugely disappointed if he's moved on. I think he's really united people across Glasgow in amusement. It's been hilarious, and
I just love seeing the masterclass picture of him like this just popping up.
that with
Anytime they lose or drop points, him or
the
with the cabbage
snorkel
head.
on it when they went up to friggin' the Loch Lomond and Mount Connick and all that. He's giving Michael Scott vibes for anyone who's watched The American Office. I'm sure he's so well-meaning, but it doesn't matter what he do now. He's putting his foot in his mouth, left or right, and I love it. I was starting to think Clyde Super Scoreboard had become bloody Hun radio with the amount of ex-Huns and very parochial current Huns, let's be honest. But it's really offset by the reams and reams of callers just apoplectic that this vegan from England has ruined their lives. And his haircut. So much criticism of the hair. So
It's such a 90s haircut. Like, if the mullet's back, it was only a matter of time until someone tries to bring back, the middle part, and the next thing you know, you're gonna see the shaved head around the side, like, Backstreet Boys undercuts and all that sort of thing coming back, and then you'll get the Beckham long
I was going to
long
say the
sort of thing
David
with
Beckham with the
the
frosted bits. Yeah, they're all
yeah,
coming back.
and then you'll cop all the Brill cream ads and stuff from Beckham as well, so, it's only a matter of time, so the guy's just, like, hung on to something from, the early 90s. He's kept the look the whole way through, hoping that, eventually he'll go full circle.
I think there's a metaphor for his tactics in there too. To be honest, he's just really hoping they'll go full circle. He's desperately holding on, and they are not good.
It's either that or his hair's a wig.
Well, yeah, true. Couldn't rule anything out at the moment.
But I'm gonna bring something up on the screen here. So where they at the moment? That's the real question. There we go. So they win the league in the summer. They didn't even do that. They did commence the rebuild. They didn't win the league in the summer. Start season poorly. There you go. They're up the top here. They're up near the manager sacked sort of mark here.
Yeah, they've got to be around there, right? I think it's definitely in start the season poorly, transitioning to manager sacked. I just wonder whether this American mob being a little bit detached are going to be whether they're going to be like, nah, screw you, we've picked the guy, I'm going to back him regardless. But either way, it's great viewing.
Oh, it is pretty funny. If we weren't going, but the thing is, if we weren't doing struggling as much as we are, I'd be finding this so much more enjoyable.
It's certainly an offset. I've got to look at it like, yeah, it's not perfect for us at the moment, but there, but for the grace of God, go I. It's just so much worse for them, and we're still managing to win games, which is the difference.
Yeah, and then we got Robert Gibson. Russell Martin is the best hair in Govan. I always say that wrong. Happy days. So, well, the next thing, we've got a game. Was it Wednesday night, Thursday morning for us? We're playing, start our Europa League campaign against Red Star Belgrade. Bit of a one for me there. That's my in-laws club. So, yeah, it's going to be great fun. I was
Bit of
trying to learn
tension.
how to say it properly in Serbian. Like, everyone goes Zervina Zvezda or whatever, and I'm like, nah, I would give it a shot, but I'll butcher it and I'll cop absolute pelters from my family, so it's not worth it. So it's Red Star Belgrade on this podcast. So we're
There's a
playing them.
brief, there's a brief moment when I was like, we're playing Red Star, right? And then I look at it and I'm like, who's Svit? Oh yeah, that's Red Star. Never mind.
Yeah,
Um,
come on,
yeah,
say it, I dare ya.
I've got to get it up now. Hang on, we'll have to sound
That's
it out.
what she said.
Whee!
Had
Oh
to.
my goodness, is that all? You just wanted to set that up, didn't you?
I
Uh,
didn't know you were going to talk about getting a, proper.
FK Svenja Zvezda. Can you get some family feedback for me on that one?
You completely butchered it. The CRV start makes a TS sort of noise at the start. So I was like, Zvezda.
How do you want me to come at that? Let's be honest. Absolute
Don't worry.
ridiculous.
I can't even say it properly. It's weird. But anyway, yeah, so I was just looking at that Red Star before, right, and having a squiz on the weekend. So yesterday, they played the Belgrade Derby. So it was Partizan versus Red Star, won that 2-1. So, yeah, going to be a bit of an interesting one there. But when you look at the players they've got, I was just having a look through, and yeah, there's a few decent players in there, but there's one name that just, like, I look at and go, oh shit, when I saw his name, and it's big bad Marko Arnautovic, absolutely mental bastard striker. So could cause a bit of issues. A big, tall striker, agile. Carter Vickers and Scales are going to have to do a bit of work there, but yeah, we know they're going to come out, they're going to play, they're going to be aggressive. Honestly, if we got out of there with a draw, I'd be happy with that. I'm not trying to be defeatist. That's just how I feel at the moment. The form they're in, the squad they're in, like the squad they have, yeah, they're going to surprise a few teams in this league at this level.
Yeah, look, everything, and obviously I've only had a cursory look, but they're an attacking, they're a high energy, big emphasis on the pressing to win possession quickly. As you said, Arnautovic up top will cause some issues. They have the high defensive line, so they're there to be got. And you think someone like a Maeda could take advantage of that if he's ready to go. Look, I'm always wary of a team that's got a bloke called Nemanja in it because Nemanyas are always batshit.
No,
Um, got any relations called pneumonia, I'm sorry, but they're always a little bit wild.
Like a Darko in there too, and you're in all sorts. If you have pneumonia and a Darko in there, you're just all sorts of.
All I know is I went to a Croatian wedding once, and after the day, I put my Man United jersey on at the time because I was 15, and that's who everyone followed. And it had a pneumonia Vidic on the back. So I was a very popular young man at the after party.
Did you get thrown through a window?
I had some real filthy looks,
Or one
and
of the old bubbers take his shoe off and throw it at you?
yeah, there was a few that wanted to go. I think, and I was a couple of drinks deep for a very young teenager, so I was
I
reveling in it.
just I just realised I said one of the old bubbers. So just so Baba is like grandma in Serbian. So
Like a
in
Serbian mom.
Croatian, in Yugoslavian. So basically, I'm saying one of the old grandmas would take and throw a shoe at you.
She's
That's probably what
absolutely
would happen.
closest I've ever come. An old Serbian dude at a Bonnie Rig game spat on me once. So, and I did deserve it. I was carrying on. 92nd minute penalty, giving it the big ones too. Anyway, they look good. They're very defensively organised. They don't give away a lot of chances. They're pretty fluid going from defence to attack. I don't like this game at all. I'm with you. If we come out of just learned today the Maracana, what the heck? Their home
Yeah,
ground, which I was like, okay, I was not
you'll love
expecting that.
this. Their whole stadium is made of wood,
No.
and they rip flares. Like they got bricks with wood, like seatings and stuff in it inside it, because it's actually cheaper with how many flares they rip in their stadium all the time, and they legally do it. It's actually cheaper if they burn a part of the stadium to cut the timber out, replace it, and put a new bit of timber in, than it is to replace all the chairs. They have to do that at least 3 or 4 times a season. Part of the stadium catches on fire because of the flares.
And that's pneumonias and Darkos right there.
More than likely, yeah.
Mental. It's going to be a great atmosphere. I'm looking forward to that. I just hope we get out of there. I did have a quick. We've never played them twice in European competition, both in 1968-69 European Cup second round. We did win the tie 5-1, the first one, and a 1-1 draw away. So form is on our side if you'd like to carry over form from the late 60s to now. We do have that going for us. But
And
ultimately,
both clubs have won one European Cup each when it was called the European Cup.
true. When did they win it?
90 or something. I think it was like 1990
Throw you
before the
on the
war.
trivia spot. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I would be ecstatic to get away with a win. And for anyone that hasn't, there is a few YouTube clips of the season so far and some interesting reading. I do recommend it. They make for good reading.
I was close.
So
91, they won it.
91. I did like, and I think he is in doubt with an injury, but Rodrigo is Brazilian centre half there as well. But if he's unavailable, then that's probably a benefit to us. But yeah, it's going to be tough, and it certainly will be imposing on the players. So I want to be up for it.
No, come on. We played at Firhill on the weekend. We've had a dress rehearsal for this. But no, just going through here, it's as Robert Gibson saying, Red Star will come out and play, and we will shit the bed and hand over our balls in a weak gift bag. 7 take it 4-1 tanking. McLaughlin saying, as long as there's no Darko Panchev, we have a chance. He goes, I'll take a draw and run at the moment. But this one here, Michael McDonald has touched on it here. Their defender. I know what you've done there. I see what you've done there.
He's one for a bit of an offside trap. That young defender.
He was trying to play the offside trap. Yeah, play a high line and get someone caught out there. I got ya. Reggie, Red Star got Serbian paramilitaries as a fan base. Is that right? I'm not going to comment.
And we've got the Green Brigade, so let's go.
Yeah, so it's going to be a bit of an interesting one. John saying about with the stadium. Don't tell Sally Board that. Seems like a cost effective option for him.
Wood don't rust. Wood don't rust.
Yeah. There you go. Red Star won the last European Cup. There you go. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a bit of a challenging game. So going into this one, I'll take a draw. But for the rest of our campaign, as I've said, I still think there's four games there that are comfortably winnable. We should get around that 10 to 12 point mark quite comfortably. Is the minimum is what I'm expecting out of this. But what are you expecting for this game, Dan? You think it's going to be high scorer, and you think it's going to be a slog for us? What's your overall thoughts?
I think it's either a 1-all draw or we get done 2-1.
Fair
So
enough.
I will lean optimistic and say 1-all draw, goal to. You know what? I was a bit harsh on him earlier. Goal for Balaquisha.
Cool. I'm going. It's either going to be. I said to take a draw. I said there's going to be a lot of goals in this because they play such a high line, and with Tenecti and Maeda's speed and the directness that we've got there, and then if you have Big Kalechi in the middle, it's going to be. I think it's probably going to be a 2-all draw, or we get done 1-0. It's going to be like one of those. It's either going to be both teams are a high scoring draw, or it's going to be like some turgid, disgusting sort of 1-all, 1-0 sort of thing later on. I don't know which way that goes if it goes 1-0, but yeah, I think it'll be a draw.
I'm
And
hopeful.
I'm fingers crossed for that too. Be nice to be up, watch that 5 a.m. kickoff over by 7. Perfect enough time to get ready for work the day, jump on, do the pod that night. It's going to be an interesting pod Thursday night. So check it out then. We'll see you all then. And Heavy Vibes are saying 1-all or a 6-0 defeat. Smell the Guy saying 2-all at best. McLaughlin saying 0-all or 3-0 to Red Star. So yeah, we'll leave it there. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it again. We'll see you on Thursday night. Hail, hail.
Hell, hell.